Clearly, I love RC aviation. It comes in all forms. You can spend a lifetime collecting every different kind of RC plane that's out there. In fact, I do RC helicopters, jets, planes, gliders, drones, cars, you name it, RC, we do it. And I've done it for the last decade with my wife. And the best part about this hobby, in my opinion, is getting to share it with other people. Unfortunately, not everybody that jumps into the hobby has $1,000 to spend on a radio and hundreds of dollars to spend on batteries and multiple hundreds of dollars to spend on an RC to fly. So we like to be able to also show people how to get into the hobby on a budget. And believe it or not, in this box, I've got 3 airplanes, 1 controller, 1 radio that can control all of them, batteries for them all, and cherry on top, it's made in America. That's very hard to come by these days. Not the electronics, but this part, this laser cut engineering design. There's 3 airplanes in this plastic wrap, and we're gonna pull this apart and build one in today's video. Now the reason I'm doing this, if you're new to the channel, I'm happy to have you, but to everyone else that's seen our videos before, you'll know this isn't a normal video for us. The kids are in bed, finally. Abby's been sick all day, and I've got the bug for RC. So I wanted to try building on camera with you guys, see if I can handle doing it by myself without Abby, which is amazing. And I thought I'd just let you see a little bit of the chaos, the collection of over 10 years of one hobby shared with my wife together. I'm sure that many of you have paused and zoomed in this video already. So these are some of my favorites that belong in the collection. Without further ado, I'd like to show you guys, because we have flown these flight test planes on the channel before. They were the Eagle, the Butterfly, and the Flying Squirrel. And now full throttle. I looped it.
You did. I saw it.
And there she goes. We have a flying squirrel with googly eyes. And they were a blast, but I'm guessing that these more traditional airplane designs should perform pretty well. So I'm excited to build one. This is really for me, but if you're interested in these, and I hope that you are, by using the link in the description below to pull this little under $100 setup up, you'll not only support Flite Test, which designs and makes these in America, but you'll be supporting our channel and our family at no extra cost to you. So let's crack these open and build one and have some fun. Before we get started on the build, I want to remind you guys that we're doing a monthly giveaway, and it's 100% free. These 2 little micros are going to be our first giveaway. Not really a first, just first for a while. All you need to do is click the link to our website in the description box below to sign up for our email newsletter. When we write a new article, you'll be notified. You'll get an email about our new article. I want you guys to go over and read it and check it out. And when you do that, it actually kind of helps boost your chances of winning. Right now, our first month winner of December of 2024 is Dast Dave. So we will contact you through email and have these shipped out to you. I'm hoping with the more people we have sign up through our email newsletter, the bigger and better things we can give away. These are very cool. We featured them on the channel. We love them a lot. They're tested. We'll even sign the cans before we send them off. But congratulations to Dast Dave, and good luck to next month's winners. So let's take a look at everything that comes in the box. And I apologize for the mess. I'm not really set up to do this. And if this does well and you appreciate the video, then maybe I'll clean this space up and we'll do a little better in the future. But this is the transmitter. It is a very easy to use radio, but not only in this box do we have the radio itself, which is going to give us throttle left and right, but we also have our first set of motor pods. These are two different colors, so they're clearly indicated for left and right, which makes the build process a lot easier. We also have a battery in here, and this can be used on all three of these airplanes. The nice thing about these is they just have a little Molex plug. They're not proprietary at all, so good on flight test. USB charge cable to charge our flight battery. Our little microchip looking thing here is the receiver and flight stabilizer. So this does all the computing to keep this thing airborne. Of course, we can't fly without propellers. A sticker sheet, as well as little clear tape pieces that the adhesive strips will actually come in handy when we're running our wires, and lights for our airplanes. So each one of these come with optional lights as well. Also in the box, like I showed in the intro, this is, believe it or not, going to be 3 awesome airplanes. There's 3 that you can see on the packaging, and you can kind of see they're laser cut, kind of pre-cut. Last 2 things in our box here are just 2 more sets of motors, flight stabilizer, props, and battery. So we can get all 3 airplanes ready to fly and not have to switch the motors back and forth. It's kind of nice. Again, all this is under $100. One thing I noticed in this pack that wasn't in the nature pack is it comes with these nuts. I'm guessing they're going to be to use weight if we need nose weight or tail weight. I'm guessing nose weight, so we'll want to hold on to those and not lose them. Honestly, in my opinion, I think the Easy V looks the coolest, so I want to do that one, and ironically, it's on top. So we're just gonna fold that open. There's our whole sheet, and we're gonna go ahead and just punch all of these pieces out so they're ready for the assembly. So I think it's pretty important to note too, you don't want to get in a big hurry when you're punching these things out. It's pretty durable and forgiving when you're out flying it and having fun, but when you're punching these out, you could really do some damage to the paper. If I got in a hurry and I was doing this like Christmas morning, I could really do some damage to that. So just take your time and really enjoy the process. If it wasn't for making a video right now, I'd be listening to some music and just relaxing or watching another YouTuber, and just enjoying the process. So take your time. Also, if you ever have a stubborn piece that just doesn't want to pop out easily and you don't want to press it or rip the paper, you can use a little X-Acto knife and just get a good clean cut on that paper, and then it should pop out much easier. There's only a few pieces to this, really, and we're going to focus on the fuselage. So we want to set aside the main wing and the Vtail here. And the first step is to peel back this center piece of our, this is a doubler for the fuselage, it's going to kind of wrap around it. And one side has these 2 scoring lines, the other side does not. So on this side, we just peel that first layer back. And we also want to swing the doubler over the fuselage and just make sure that is a nice fit around this hole. Swing it over, and we're going to put a fairly good amount of hot glue all over this. I like this glue gun because it doesn't have a wire that runs off of it, and I lost my battery powered one, but I use a very specific type of hot glue. I find that if I use cheap hot glue, it doesn't hold up well to the heat of the summer. This does, so I'll have my favorite hot glue linked in the description box below. We're going to let this set up for about a minute, and then we'll flip it over and do the other side. Now flip it over, and we're just going to do a little dry fit. We want to kind of swing this around The dry fit's important because we want to make sure all of these holes line up. This is for our main wing, that's a little pass-through slot, and that's our battery slot. We just want to make sure those all line up well, look good, and we understand where that's going to lay after the hot glue is down. So we can unfold that. We're just going to place hot glue all over the flat surfaces here, being careful not to get them near the wing slot or the battery slot, and then we'll fold it back over where we dry fit it. To me, when I'm doing these, especially these easy kits, there's something extremely therapeutic about them. I mean, I just really get lost in the whole process of it, and you take your flat foam, and even though it's pre-cut, you're bringing it to life, and I think that is so cool. Now the fuselage is complete, so we're going to move our attention over here to the V-tail. You'll notice that it folds very easily one way and very difficult the other. So we want to fold it in half the easy way, and then we're going to use the edge of the table. You can kind of crush down this edge and try to crush down these two edges on both sides so that it can fold the other direction. So let's try it out. Now that those are crushed, we're getting a little bit of a bend in this way, so let's keep working on it. There we go. That's actually shaping up really nicely. I'm happy with that. Little bit more. This little tool that came with the kit tells us when we have the right angle, and we're very close. Once we see the gauge lets us get the right angle, we can open this back up, and we're going to put a bead of glue down the middle of the crushed side. Now we'll fold this and hold at the angle from the gauge, and we'll hold that for about a minute. As it dries, once it is dry completely after holding this in place for about 1 minute, it should hold that angle or really close to it. Okay, now that that's dry, it's holding in place on its own, which is awesome. We're going to take the fuselage that we built earlier, and the back side of the fuselage here, this flat part, the V-tail is going to line up to that and sit almost perfectly. We're just going to do a dry fit to make sure it does fit nicely. I might have went a little too heavy on my hot glue in that center seam there, but that's okay. It looks like a nice fit, so we're going to put a bead of glue right down that seam and then press and hold in place for about another minute or so. When we're doing this, we want to hold it in very level and perpendicular, equal on both sides. We don't want any sharp, steep angles on one side over the other. As even as we can get it so that it can fly nice and level. Now the fuselage is complete. We're going to set this to the side and work on the main wing. Similarly to the horizontal stabilizer in the rear, we want to have a fold on this guy. So we're going to take our nail down the center where that crease already is, apply a little pressure, which should help this to break open, and now we can fold the wing. Again, not the side where there is no seam, but if you're using the kit that we've got linked in the description box, that seam that's already there, that cut that's kind of already there. And so we're able to snap that open and the wing folds in half. So just like we did on the rear horizontal stabilizer, we're going to press that and run it along the table so we can get a nice opposite fold and get some dihedral going on the wing. This is going to help the plane to fly nice and level when we have limited controllability just from those two motors. Let's see how that goes. And yeah, we're starting to get a little bit of dihedral. After a bit of pressing, we're going to take this little funny shaped piece that we used for the rear vertical stabilizer to get that nice angle, and this will slide onto the main wing just on one end. as it sits on the table with the little notch out of the corner down here, we get this perfect angle of attack on our dihedral. It sits something like this when it's on a table. So one side of the wing is down, the other side has this little dihedral gauge on it, and we're going to put a bead of glue right down the middle. We're going to open this up first and put some glue right down the center of that wing. And that doesn't take much, so we'll let this side sit flat. This side has the gauge on it, and this should allow, once that dries in about a minute, our wing will have the perfect angle of dihedral to it. We can kind of lift this up now and test, taking that little gauge off. If our wing sits up off the table like it's doing, then we've got the perfect amount of dihedral locked into our wing. That is awesome. So we'll take our fuselage now that we finished earlier, and we're going to slide the wing, the main wing, with those two slots in the back, where the angle of attack, the arrow is facing forward. So we're going to work that through that center slot there on the fuselage and get it nice and centered. There we go. We just want to make sure it's as centered as possible and that the dihedral looks good. And when we're happy with it, we can run a light bead of glue down both sides of the fuselage on the underneath side of the wing to lock it in place. This can be launched as a hand glider, and if you do, these little nuts can be placed in the battery slot and glued in place to get the proper CG. To do that, you see these two little dots on the bottom of the airplane. You press your fingers or just hold the plane there, and we can see that the tail is very heavy on this. In order to find the right CG, we place a nut in here and try again on the CG. Still a little tail heavy, probably a little too much glue. So we can either slide, we would slide that forward more, but in this case we're out of room, so we would need to add another. That's if we're just using this as a hand launch glider, or we want to do some test flying before we add the motors. Now, one thing I noticed in the flight test video is they have, in their build video, they use an older setup for their motors. We're going to install these two little motors today, and luckily for us, they're labeled left and right. They have little stickers on there. So when we're looking at an airplane to determine what is left and right, we want to face the airplane away from us like we're sitting in the cockpit, and then this will be the right motor. So in this case, the blue one is the right motor. That's where we're going to install it, on the right of the airplane. The motor shaft will be at the back of the airplane, so that means this is a pusher prop airplane. All we need to do is orientate our props the right way. You'll notice, and I hope you can see this, these have a little flat side on this side and a curved side, or a little dome. When we're doing a pusher prop, we want the dome to go onto the motor first. These can be a little challenging to do, but I find the easiest way to do it is to place that on a table and then push the motor onto the prop. Alright, one last thing that wasn't quite addressed in the original build video, and I didn't address it at the right point, so hopefully I get this in the right spot to edit. When I gave it a little power test, I had throttle pushing the wrong direction, and I switched the props around and realized, yeah, these are two different props, obviously. One is spinning clockwise and one's counterclockwise. So what you guys need to know is, it's kind of ironic, but there's one propeller labeled B and one A. Well, here's the easy way to remember it. B should be blue, but it's not. B is red, A is blue, and it does need to go on in that direction. And then you should have a nice functioning airplane. Very cool. Now let's set up as a pusher prop style, and that's what we want to do for the red one too. There we go. It's a good pressure fit. It's really not going to go anywhere once that's on. So again, it's really nice that it comes labeled left and right, because in this case, we wouldn't know the difference between the two. Now the funny thing is, when we're working on our airplane, we need to work on it upside down. So this is on the right side and the red one is on the left. We're going to flip the airplane upside down so that we can work on that. And we want to flip the two motors too. So now they're on the proper sides. The wire to our motor should face the front of the airplane. And we've got these little hooks on the motor pod. You guys can see those little hooks there. Those are going to seat into the foam of the airplane. So we're going to just set that motor pod there, and we can then press those little teeth of that motor pod into the foam. You'll hear a little crunch. Okay, so that means it's set in there. Now we can either do one of two things. We can glue this in place if we're happy with that, or we can tape it on here so we can easily use those motor pods for other planes. Well, what I'm going to do is glue it in, because remember, I have 3 sets of motors, so I have a set of motors for each plane. So I'm happy with that. I'm actually going to pop that back out and glue it in place. Kind of using the hot end of my glue gun to push the excess glue that was up front kind of over the little panels so that I get just a better adherence to the wing. I'll do the same to the other side. We'll just wait for that to dry. Here it gets a little bit more fun because we get to install our flight control board and receiver combo. And we're going to pass through some of these wires. So as the airplane's still sitting upside down and the nose away, we're going to take the right wire first. Now this little sticker can kind of get in the way, so I like to push it up toward the motor pod and get it out of the way. We're going to put it through that little hole in the fuselage so that it sits on the other side of the airplane. So we'll just go ahead and pull a little bit of the extra slack out of there. Now we're going to take our flight control board, and the most important thing here to not mess up is getting this orientated the right way. So the airplane is upside down. As we're holding the flight control board, we have the battery lead toward the front of the plane, the antenna toward the back. We have a little light, that little red light there. That's going to be facing up for us, but it will be the bottom of the airplane, and that on-off switch will be the bottom of the airplane, but up for us. We need to pass that right motor battery lead, or the motor lead that came through the hole in the fuselage, and we're going to pass it through that one hole that's in that control board too. Once that is on that side, I think it's actually easier to go ahead and plug this in now and then add the glue later. So we're just going to go ahead and orientate this the right way. It only plugs in one way. Do not force it. There's a little red lead plug and a white one right by each other. Those are where you're going to plug this into. And we might as well go ahead and get the left one while we're at it. Again, I think it's easier to do it now because you have more movement over the whole control board. Now you can either tape that in place or you can glue it in place. It's going to sit right here in this empty space of our fuselage. So I'll put a couple dabs of hot glue, one toward the front, one toward the back, and then dry fit here, place it there, get the wires out of the way, and that will sit nicely in the fuselage. We'll just hold that in place as that hot glue dries for about a minute or so. That's a really vital piece to the build. We just want to make sure it's orientated the right way so the control board knows the airplane is facing the right direction and it keeps it level in flight. Okay, that's awesome. The beautiful thing about this sticker pack is, I mean, it's just tape, really, but it's nice. It's a convenience factor. It's good. It's good tape. It's hard to see, but on this side, there's just a bunch of little strips. And let's see if I can get one. There we go. So there is a little strip of tape, basically. We're gonna just wire management. We're gonna make this thing look good and clean and professional. Probably the best spot is to pull your wire up toward the fuselage, toward the front there, to keep it kind of tight. Put a strip of tape down, and that'll help hold it in place just a little better. Less drag, less things to get caught on. Definitely looks better than this side. I also like to go ahead and remove these little right and left stickers, but you can leave them on if you want. It's just going to cause some drag. Now we take our included battery and we're going to slide it into the battery slot here because we want to go ahead and look for a good CG. Now we could have already had this charging. Josh says, the maker of this airplane, to put the CG, at least the starting point, toward the front. Maybe not necessarily in the middle. And remember, we have these two little dots on the bottom of our wing. When we put our finger on the dot on both sides, that'll let us know where the point of CG is. Now mine still feels just a tad tail heavy, just a touch. So we're going to push the battery forward a little bit, just a millimeter or so. Finger back on the CG mark, and we want it to just nose down a hair, so I'll keep moving that battery forward some. It'll be a little different for everyone depending on how much hot glue you did or did not use. And that feels just about perfect. Get some AA's in the transmitter because we're going to bind this radio to the flight controller board. So now, with our charged battery, we can go ahead and plug it in. Put that toward the back. Here's the fun part. We get to see if this will come to life. So the first step is to turn on our switch on the flight control board. We have a rapid blinking red light. We're going to set this down nice and level on the table. It doesn't have to be perfectly level there. We'll turn on our transmitter with batteries in it with throttle down. It's rapidly blinking, and the light on the plane is now slowly blinking. So we will throttle up on the transmitter and then throttle down, and we should be bound. We have a solid light on the transmitter, a solid light on our airplane. Now we can hold it safely and give it a little bit of a throttle test. And that is awesome. We have power. Yeah, so we went together from flat foam to an actual operating RC airplane. And you know, the cool thing is we can take this radio and pair it to two more airplanes that are similar to this, but also very different. Different enough to give you a different flying experience. That's the beauty of this hobby. You can paint, marker, do whatever you like to this airplane too. It does not have to stay just Adams board white. There's a lot you can do to customize this. You know, we'll put some RC Sailor stickers on it when we take it out to fly, and I'm genuinely looking forward to building the other two airplanes. It was a little bit of a challenge for me. Actually, I'm not gonna lie, this was a massive challenge for me to try to do the recording where Abby would normally be on the camera and do the thing. So, oh, it makes me miss Abby, and I just hope and pray that she starts feeling better really soon. Now, one pro tip with this airplane before you go fly it is it does need to be in high rates to have its most maneuverability available. So when you turn it on, it's this shoulder button on the right side. The left side will turn the light on and off. You'll know you're in high rates because the light on the transmitter will be blinking. So when that flashes, you're in high rates. It's just gonna let you turn the plane a bit sharper and a bit faster to give you some more control. And I'll let you know a little bit more about it after we've flown it and tested it and the others on the channel. This was a lot different for me to do. I have no idea if you guys enjoyed this or not, so you really gotta let me know in the comments below. Do you wanna see more build videos? If so, I've gotta work on my space some more to make that happen. But this smaller airplane doesn't require a lot of space to build or fly, so I was happy to try this on my own. Now remember, these planes, as this chain won't leave me alone, these planes will be linked in the description box below. And if you want to say a massive thank you to us, the best way to do that is by clicking the link to pull up the website, Flight Test, where you can buy this plane. We'll have Josh's videos of this airplane and the other two linked in the description box below. Hopefully someone bought this and used my video to build and it got the job done. Fingers crossed. I tried so hard with the equipment and stuff that I have for camera angles and that sort of thing. But the flight test videos do a fantastic job, probably even better than mine, to get these airplanes built. And really, if you're not doing what I was doing and having to move the camera around and stuff and repeat things for the shot, I think a person could easily knock one of these out in 15-20 minutes or so. Even a first-time builder. This was very easy to do, and I think even easier than the Nature Pack. These also make an amazing gift for anyone that loves aviation. I don't care if you're a full-scale pilot or you're a pro stunt pilot. There's just something about taking flat foam and piecing it together and making an RC out of nothing that's really proud. It's a very proud moment. So I like to share experiences with as many people in the world as I possibly can, and that's what this is about. I just like sharing the experience of RC with you guys, and I would love to hear your feedback. If you've purchased one, if you plan on buying one because of this video, this is just a different type of video for me, and the feedback really goes a long way. So I'd love to hear from you guys. Now, if you just stuck around and hung out with me while I threw that plane together just for the sake of entertainment, you are absolutely amazing. But I want to say a massive special thanks to everyone that supports our channel. We couldn't do what we do without everybody's amazing support, from watching from beginning to end, leaving likes and comments and sharing our videos. It really does mean the world to us, and I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I want to say a massive thanks to God for blessing me with the time and the ability to jump in front of the camera and share this experience with you. I also want to say a massive thanks to our Patreon supporters, because we couldn't do what we do as often as we do it without your amazing support. Now, we have a couple other flight test planes that are awesome, but I really want you to check out that Nature Pack too, because it's so similar to this and so unique, and they're just fun to watch them fly, and they're fun to build. So that video will be popping up right about now. Since Abby's not here, I guess I gotta say it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Bye!